Hello, everyone, and welcome to Booktrib Live at Moss Media Production. Today, we are thrilled to welcome an internationally celebrated yoga teacher and author, Kathryn Budig,
Budig.
Budig, so sorry,
It's
to
okay.
talk about her second book, Aim True, Love Your Body, Eat Without Fear, Nourish Your Spirit, Discover True Balance. Kathryn is also the author of the Women's Health Big Book of Yoga and has written for Women's Health Magazine and Yoga Journal, as well as served on the Yahoo Health Advisory Board. Welcome, Kathryn. It's so great to talk
Hi.
to you today.
Oh, likewise. Thank you for having me.
Let's start about talking with Aim True and what readers can expect when they pick up a copy.
Sure. So a lot, actually. It's a lifestyle book, all based on what Aim True is. And Aim True is my life philosophy. So I start the book off breaking down what that is, how it came to me, and then offering exercises and tools for people to figure out how they can come up with their own definition and aim true in their lives, and then expands from there about how can we aim true in all different aspects of our life. So how we view our bodies, how we view where we are right now, how we eat our food, cook our food, how we treat our minds, our relationships. So it's basically all encompassing how to aim true with everything that you do.
Oh, that sounds so beautiful. Well, I guess so. Then you already just discussed how Aim True means to you. What would you say you detail a 5-day purification process? Can you explain maybe a little bit more on what that entails?
Sure. The 5-day purification process is really, it's something that I like to do every year. I always take a time to cleanse, but I feel like the word cleanse can sometimes be a bit intimidating for people, and these images of just juicing for days on days comes up in their mind. So I created the process with Debbie Kim, who's a dear friend and amazing holistic practitioner, and it's all about rewiring how you eat and becoming cleaner with your choices. So I was thinking about someone like my Nebraska bred father. If I told him to go on a really strict cleanse for 5 days, there's no way he could do it. But what if I created a 5-day process that was accessible to most people who really just want to clean up their act? And after those 5 days, ideally, they can realize, wow, I can eat really good, pure, non-processed organic food and be satiated and be happy, and it can be delicious. So that way, once they have those 5 days, then the likelihood of them wanting to continue down that path will be stronger afterwards.
Okay, perfect. Um, what are some of the true benefits to homeopathic self-care, which you talk about in Aim True?
There's a lot, it's part of it is I have a project called Poses for Paws, and it's a yoga endeavor that I put together to help raise money for animal shelters and different projects that I believe in. And I worked with the Beagle Freedom Project for a long time, and they go in and save beagles that are used in laboratory testing. So that was a big wake-up call for looking at the products that we use and making sure they're cruelty-free and that they don't test. So I just decided not only will I start using those kind of products, but why don't I try to create my own? And it's really satisfying to know all the ingredients that are going into what you're making. It can often save you a lot of money as well, and it just makes me feel like a little mad scientist at home, which is kind of great. So lots of facets to that, just being more aware with the companies that you're supporting and really paying attention to what you're putting onto your skin.
I completely agree with you. I've been trying to do that path of life as
Yay.
well, especially with the beagle. I have a beagle.
Really? Oh, I have a
um,
half beagle.
oh, my dog's name is Griffin. He's 11 years old though.
Nice. Oh, mine's 10, Ashi.
Look at that, we have that in common. Um, so can you talk a little bit more about your background and what you pushed into this career?
Sure. My background, I've been teaching yoga for 12 years, and I trained in Santa Monica, California with Chuck Miller and Maty Ezraty at Yogaworks. And I taught there for 8 years, and I'm now in Charleston, South Carolina, and I've been on the travel circuit. So I teach nationally and internationally, workshops, conferences, festivals, lectures, all that jazz. And I've been writing for a long time. I have a BA in English literature and drama from the University of Virginia. So once I started writing, my father was extremely happy that my degree was being put to use. And I started out writing for websites like Elephant Journal and Huffington Post, and I contributed to Women's Health magazine for a really long time and Yoga Journal. And my first book was the Women's Health Big Book of Yoga, which is kind of this all-encompassing yoga guide. And now my second baby is out. So, and then the food aspect, I've been food writing for several years now too. I've been in love with food my entire life, but really moving more in that direction of how can I take the decadence from the experience of going out and being a foodie and combine that with my knowledge and history of nutrition. So that's where the background of a lot of the recipes in the book come from.
Okay, that's perfect. You've trained under Maddie, Ezraty, and Chuck Miller.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about what you learned of those experiences and like in training with them?
Oh my gosh. Well, they're two of the most exquisite teachers in the world, so there's that. Uh, Chuck Miller taught me to always stop before you begin. He's this very wise, calm, amazing man. So that was my biggest lesson that I learned from him. And then Maty would always ask her teachers, do you want to be a good teacher or do you want to be a popular teacher? And to which, of course, I wanted to be both. But in particular, of course, I want to be both. But she taught me the importance of taking your time, becoming incredibly good at your craft, and not rushing the process. And so I feel very confident with where I am in my career because I took the time to establish myself and to garner this wealth of knowledge to be able to stand here and feel confident about the information that I'm sharing and what I'm talking about. So they were unbelievable and so pivotal in my foundation for who I am, but much more beyond just a teacher.
Oh, great. At what point did you decide you wanted to write books?
I think I dreamed about it ever since I was little, but it was one of those dreams like, sure, I'll write books, yay. And it wasn't until the editor-in-chief of Women's Health magazine asked me to write their book that I went, oh my gosh, I'm writing a book, it's happening.
It's happening,
and, yeah. And it's quite the ordeal to write a book. So I wrote my first one and was really exhausted by the process because it takes so much out of you. And I took a little break in between writing my second book just to kind of gear myself up for the emotional and physical output that goes into putting together something like this. And this is my second one and definitely not my last. I would like a little more breather before I start writing the third one, but before you know it, I'll probably be jumping in.
It's hard not to, right, once you start your first one.
Yeah.
Did you approach the way in which you write this book differently than your first one? And if so, why?
Oh, for sure. The first book was more of a guide. So it was a guide with personality. It was a ton of research. And this one was completely mine. It was very, very personal. So I would say this book was way more terrifying ultimately to write because I had all the information inside of me, but it's so important to me that I wanted to make sure I was saying it in the exact way that was going to give it the life that I knew it deserved and to make it the most universally acceptable and accessible as possible. So it was scary, and also terrifying to just put something out in the world and be like, hey, this is how I feel and this is how I live my life every day and have at it. I hope you like it. That's always kind of scary, but I feel like the most powerful shift comes from vulnerability. So I'm working on that.
Oh, perfect. You're a huge advocate for self-acceptance also. How does this work into Aim True thought process?
Oh, it's huge. A big part of Aiming True for me personally is the ability to embrace who you are exactly as you are right now, to know what your God-given talents are, and to know what you're incredibly passionate about. And ideally, if we can get people on that path of knowing how important they are and what they have to offer to the world, they can get out there. But obviously, once you put what you want out into the world, not everyone's always going to agree with you, and you're going to have to deal with the expectations of others and the noise of others. So the book is really a guide to help you find what you're passionate about, accept exactly who you are, not just accept it, I don't like that word, but embrace, so that you can step into your power and then know once you go out into the world that you're so empowered that you can deflect the people that would normally pull you back down into a base level so you can continue to grow.
Oh, how inspiring. I love it. April is Spring Clean Your Brain Month on Booktrib. What are some ways that everyone can kickstart getting healthy before the summer hits?
Sure. Well, the 5-day purification process would be perfect. And, I'm just doing a 2 little day cleanse because I actually have 2 days at home and I've been on book tour for 3 weeks without routine, not eating what I want to eat, hanging out with my best friend who really likes wine.
That's pretty dangerous, but fun.
It was really fun, but I'm kind of exhausted. So I would definitely recommend the 5-day purification process, and it's a great way to get into the kitchen. I kept all the recipes really, really simple, nothing fancy. And you don't have to make every single recipe for every single day, but pick a couple of favorites that you have, and even 2 days. Just consciously taking the choice to reboot your system and stop and be like, hey, I'm not going to eat dairy for 2 days, or I'm not going to have pizza for 2 days, or whatever it is that you know is your fallback that you always go on to, and be like, I'm going to put that away for just a little bit and start to fuel myself with stuff that's going to make me feel really good.
Mine would be cheese and bread. Always hard to
Yum. Right?
And wine.
We should hang out with our dogs.
What was that? I'm sorry.
We should hang out, eat cheese and bread, and get our dogs together.
Perfect. I'll have to make a trip down there to see you. Your blog is full of yummy and healthy recipes. Do you have some favorites that you feel are staples in any diet?
Oh, yeah. I had a cold a couple months ago, and so I put together a soup recipe that probably went up in January or February, and that's become a staple. It's just like a fancy, healthier take on chicken noodle soup, basically, my spin on it. And I also have one that's a quinoa enchilada that is delicious.
Ooh.
So instead of using tortillas, I replace it with quinoa, and it's pretty much a one-pot wonder, and you throw it all together, and that's a good Sunday night comforting, yummy meal to put together that I really love. And then spaghetti squash. I'm obsessed with it. I want spaghetti squash all the time. So I have a spaghetti squash recipe up there with spicy shrimp that is just, I make it probably more than I really should. I should start to branch out a little bit.
It sounds delicious, so I don't blame you. People can take classes with you on yogaglow.com. How does that work?
Oh, it's so easy. It's YogaGlow. It's GLO.com, and it's an online studio. It's myself, and there's roughly about 40 teachers on the site, and a new class goes up every day. A new class of mine goes up every other week, and there's all different levels, all different styles of yoga, duration, so you can, type in whatever you're looking for, and it'll pop up a search result for you. And it's $18 a month, and you have unlimited access to the website. So that's cheaper than in a lot of cities taking one public class. So it's just, I'm a huge advocate, obviously, for taking yoga in person, but for a lot of us, it's too expensive, or you're not close to a studio, or you have a ton of kids and you don't have time to get out of the house. So it's just a really practical, fantastic resource for people who want to do yoga who don't have the time or funds to do so.
Oh, perfect. Yogaglow.com. I'll have to keep that in mind. We love animals at Booktrib. Can you tell the viewers about your animal project, Poses for Paws?
Yes. So Poses for Paws is a project that I put together, and it was just to start it out with, let's do a fundraiser and give all the money back to a local shelter. And I was so impressed with how many people showed up for it. And in the yoga world, it's called seva. So it's taking the yoga practice and using it as a way to give back to the community. And so since then, I was like, we should stay at this. So I just regularly choose different organizations that I believe in, that I want to help get their message out there. And I'll do events, or I'll have products with a percentage that goes back to Poses for Paws. And that money all goes to whoever I'm supporting. So I started out that way, and now I encourage other teachers to hold their own Poses for Paws events where I will support it through my social media. And then 50% will go to whoever I'm supporting, 50% will go to a local shelter that they love.
Oh, that's amazing. I love this idea. Anything for the paws.
Exactly.
What's next? More books?
Yes, yes. My literary agent is already like, what are you going to do next? So I'm starting to brainstorm book number 3. And on top of that, I want to continue to create new content. I know I've always had this dream of being a kind of female, healthier version of Anthony Bourdain, and trying to put together some kind of fun lifestyle and food show. So I'm probably in the works of trying to create either some online or TV content next.
That sounds amazing. I love anything Anthony Bourdain.
Me too. I love him so much.
You inspire such a wide range of people. How do you keep yourself inspired?
That's a good question. I will actually use Yoga Glow and I'll take yoga classes from other teachers and just try to pull little nuggets from them. I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by amazing loved ones and friends that are so smart and so brave, and they constantly challenge me to think outside of the box. So I use them on a regular basis to really fuel my inspiration tank. And then I like to read and fiction, stuff that doesn't have anything to do with health or yoga, and because it expands my brain and it expands my imagination. And if I can keep my imagination rich, I feel like that starts to, trickle down into my writing and my teaching process.
Get those creative juices flowing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Have you read any books recently that you were a huge fan of?
I just picked up Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I'm about to crack that open. I just read Coates' most recent book, which is daunting but really educational. And the last book that I read that just I absolutely adored that was fiction is called The Night Circus. And it's this really magical piece of fiction. So I needed to completely escape for a little bit and dive into that one.
Ooh, the Night Circus. I'll have to remember that. Thank you. Are there any
Hmm.
quotes that really inspire you?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Are there any quotes that really inspire you?
Yes, I'm really bad at pulling those out of my memory bank, but my absolute favorite quote is Oscar Wilde, and it's "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken." And I often quote that when I'm teaching about Aim True, and I'm trying to encourage people to step outside of trying to be a blueprint of someone else, or when they fall into the trap of comparison and constantly striving to be like someone else.
That's a perfect quote. I completely agree.
I love it.
Um,
I love
is there
him.
anywhere is there anywhere you'd like to travel that you haven't got to travel to yet?
Oh gosh. Oh yes. I would like to go hike Machu Picchu. That would be amazing. That's on my to-do list. I would love to go to Tahiti and get one of those little huts over the water in Bora Bora. That sounds fantastic. And I've already been to Greece, but I really loved it there. So I'm hoping to get back to Greece sometime soon and take a vacation.
The Mykonos Islands.
Yes, yes,
They're
please.
beautiful.
Santorini, Mykonos, all of it.
Any one of those.
Yeah, I'll
I
take anything.
think we might have time for one more question. Any advice for newcomers to yoga? Goodbye.